Hello and welcome to EPOP Academic English 1 Week 2, the writing process. So this week we'll be looking at pages 15 to 22 in the Introduction to Academic Writing book, and the purpose of the assignment this week is to become familiar with the process of writing a paragraph or an essay, and the same basic principles apply to both. So in the writing process there are 4 basic steps. And those are step 1, pre-writing, where you create ideas. Step 2, organizing, where you organize those ideas. Step 3, writing, where you write a rough draft. And step 4, polishing, revising, and editing to create the final copy. Now, steps 1 and 2 are essentially the planning phase of the writing process. Obviously, in exams, you may not have much time to plan, but it's still an important thing to do. And when you're writing in your daily life, whether it's in your job or in another context, planning is always a very helpful stage of writing. Okay, so in step 1 or pre-writing, the purpose is to create ideas. And one very useful way to do this is listing. So you write the topic at the top of the page and you list the words and phrases that come to mind. It's similar to brainstorming. So in the example in the book, the writer has been asked to write a paragraph about a person who has made a difference. And they have identified a number of different kinds of different people here that they think have made a difference. And they've decided to focus on their grandfather. And when you do this, you want to choose a topic that you know enough about and that you feel that you can write well about. So now they've chosen their topic, they move to the next stage of pre-writing, where they get their topic and they make a list of all of the important and relevant information about that topic. In this case, it's the grandfather, and you can see here the list. But then, because this paragraph is about a person who made a difference, they then need to refine their list and focus on the most important information and the main ideas that they think they want to include in their paragraph. So here you can see an example from the book of how the writer has refined the list, and they've focused on how their grandfather helped his community, how their grandfather started a community hospital, and how he improved farming techniques in his area. So once you've completed step 1, you then move to step 2, which is organizing the ideas you've created in pre-writing into a simple outline. And that outline needs to include a topic sentence, the main ideas, and the supporting information and examples for the main ideas. So again, the example that the writer has produced in the book has the topic sentence here, and then A is one main idea, B is the second main idea, and then here the bullet points have the supporting information and the examples for those main ideas. So then you move to the next stage, the writing stage, where you develop a rough draft using your outline as a guide. At the rough draft stage, you don't need to worry about grammar and spelling and punctuation. You can fix those errors later. You want to focus on getting the main ideas down and organizing them in your paragraph. You can, of course, add ideas that you didn't have in the outline. As you write, you may need think of new things, new ideas, and of course, yes, you can add those. And then at the end of your paragraph, you need to add a concluding sentence. So here on the right-hand side, you can see the example from the book of the rough draft that the writer has created. And if you take time to read it in detail, you'll notice that there are grammar and spelling and punctuation errors. No problem at this stage. So it is advisable to take a day to rest after finishing your rough draft, and then to come back the following day with fresh eyes. It can be very helpful to focus and notice things that you hadn't noticed the first time round. So you may not have time to do it, but if you do, it's advisable. And then you move to step 4, which is to polish, revise, and edit into a final copy. There are 2 major parts of this. The first is revising, where you're looking at content and organization, the big stuff. And the second is editing, when you're focusing on the details like grammar and punctuation and mechanics in your paragraph. And there are 3 main stages. There's the revising stage, there's the second draft, and then the final copy. So in this process of polishing, revising, and editing, it's worth checking out the worksheets on page 198 to 207 of the book. They give examples of worksheets for peer editing and for self-editing. So in this step 4, the first stage is revising. And in this stage, it can be useful to use peer editing. And this is when you ask your classmate to read, to question and comment on your draft, and to say what's good and what might be changed. So the peer editor does not check the details like grammar, spelling and punctuation. They're looking at the main ideas and the organization. And you can see here on the right-hand side an example of a peer-edited rough draft. So you can see where the peer editor has liked things and where they might want to suggest changes. So again, you want to check out the worksheets on page 198 to 207 to help with the peer editing process. So the next stage of step 4 is the second draft, where based on the feedback received during the editing of the rough draft, the writer creates a second draft. And then here you're focusing on revising and editing, so some of the details. And you can see here on the right is an example of the second draft created by the writer. And perhaps it would be a good opportunity for you to compare with the rough draft and to see the changes that the writer has made. And then thirdly, the third stage of step 4 is the final copy. So this is when you're creating that polished copy. And it's very important in this stage to read over the paragraph many times, and each time you read it, you focus on different specific things. So for example, the first time you read the paragraph, perhaps you're looking at the ideas and how they've been organized and thinking of how ways that you could do that better. You might be looking at grammar issues such as single plural agreements the second time you read it. Perhaps the third time you look at capital letter mistakes, and the fourth time you look at sentence fragments. So each time you're focusing on a different detail and making sure that the paragraph is as good as you can make it. And the self-editing worksheets on page 198 to 207 will really help you to organize this editing process. Okay, so many thanks for watching. All the best with week 2. Bye-bye.